I feel like the action of painting can communicate ideas and emotions as much as the finished ones. So that's why I like to share those things. I like my process because that's most enjoyable way to paint. When I look at some people's work, I can see some people had fun or good energy to it, and for me that's quite important. I like looking at those things. As a lot of people know, the brain is part of our body, but at the same time, I do believe our body is extension and essentially a part of our brain. In my painting, I try not to have marks that it's look too intentional. So that's maybe why I like to invite and open to tools that it does its own things. Because when a flower blooms, it doesn't look intentional. It's following some sort of formula or like some sort of nature, but it's never look forced.
Before we get into this episode, I just want to thank you for being here. I started this podcast to spark conversations that inspire, creatively, personally, and everything in between. So if you'd like to support that mission, the best way is to hit that subscribe or follow button wherever you're watching or listening to this. That'll help other creative minds discover us and also ensures that you won't miss any of the incredible guests that we've got coming up. Because when this passion is shared, it grows exponentially. So thank you, and now let's get stuck into it. I've been thinking a bit about like what this exhibition is called, physical actions thinking form.
Yeah.
And what that means as the physical nature of it. And I know that you mentioned that you use a lot of your tools that they almost have they create a life of its own with the work, like the intentional drips where you just like relinquish the control, where you almost like set it off and you're like, you just become, the art piece just becomes what it becomes, just a whole combination of, I suppose, like not just the mark making, but also the letting go of it and like letting it take the form as it does.
Yeah, I guess even the technique and that philosophy itself came strongly from painting outside, because when you are painting outside on a public space or abandoned buildings, you have to adapt and respond to what's around you and how, like if you're painting on a brick walls or concrete walls or metals, wooden, weather walls sometime, and this little strange structures. And even if you're using the same paint, they kind react differently sometimes.
Yeah.
So there is some tools does it exactly like a spray paint is more controllable in a way, like you can predict how it's really paint. But I like to use extension poles with rollers with heaps of water, so the paint is diluted. So when I make a lines, there's a lot of drips goes down, and also water sprayer too. That has got a lot of water and not ink, but like acrylic paint also, and that makes heaps of drips. And especially the sprayer, even if you're shooting in one direction, it's not like spray paint precise shoot, because this is just actually made to water or like water spray some sort of chemical to the garden stuff. So it's shoot one way, but it's kind of goes like that. And also with the weather, with wind and stuff, it's just goes everywhere also. But yeah, I like responding to what that tool do, rather than having complete final idea in my head. Yeah, I just like it. I enjoy that process.
It's
Yeah.
almost like you kind of like there's that balancing act between maintaining control and relinquishing control. Yeah, so there's that. It's always, I guess, like a balance of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when we spoke last, I was saying how I want to try to introduce more of that, just leaving it to happen as it happens.
To your practice.
To my practice.
Yeah.
But I think like, and I think a lot about transferable skills, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not just a matter of the art practice, but the practice with a lot of just basically everything in life.
Yeah, just even how you live also.
Yeah, definitely as a life philosophy. And I, like, one of the things when I started this podcast and I decided that this is something that not just that I want to do, but something that I need to give some sort of dedication to. So there is then a level of control that I need to maintain, some organization, some structure.
Maybe discipline.
Discipline, definitely discipline.
Yeah.
But then attached to that is the fact that when you're starting off with anything, there is a massive learning curve, right? So there's a lot that you don't know about. So then what you do know about, you're being very delicate with the process, like step one, and then you can break down the steps into little micro steps, right? So then from there, the more practice you get, you know, you're starting to remove the things that don't work, and then you're allowing more prevalence of the things that do work, and then they just become embedded into how you move.
And also that's how you get to, for the artwork, like I feel like that's a one good process to take to make something new. Because, you know, like that's what I'm trying to do, and I think a lot of artists trying to do that also. But if you have a concrete idea in your head, those ideas are often most like it is influenced by what you know, what you have seen. And to break from that, I think, allowing a chance to come in and allowing other elements to collaborate with you, I feel like that's there is a good chance that I can actually make something new and you haven't seen before.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's essentially what it is. You have to kind of like go into that unknown.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's all of creativity. And I don't even, and like when I talk to creatives of all disciplines, you start to see a lot of similarities, right? And it does come down just to the life philosophy. And I think that there's a degree of adaptation to experimentation. And there's the relinquishing, it is that relinquishing control and not being attached to an outcome.
Yeah.
Right? And just to allowing things to happen. So with that, physical actions as thinking form. When you say physical actions as thinking form, can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. Okay. So, as a lot of people knows, the brain is part of our body, but at the same time, I do believe our body is extension and essentially a part of our brain. So when in a lot of situations, when people talking about thinking, you think it's thinking only happening here. But I do believe when you move in your hand, especially like large murals, using whole your body, using your legs and arms and shoulders and all the parts of your body, I do believe there's some sort of a different form of thinking is happening. You know, like and there is a people who who makes those type of thinking in your head also. But I do believe there's some different form of thoughts happens when you move your body. So that's what it is. And also, I think when you move your body and when people watch that, you almost feel like you see their thoughts also.
Ooh.
Do you know what I mean?
As in, like, you're feeding off the feedback that they're giving you?
Maybe that happens too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and also, you know, like it's quite known things. There is communication, non-verbal communications.
Yeah.
That's you know, that's a thoughts, that's emotions and ideas you're sharing without using word or verbal, you know, communication. So I think that's also inside of that idea.
Yeah, okay. Ash, that's a bloody good point, man.
Yeah.
I think most of our communication is non-verbal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the sort of thing that, because you've traveled the world,
Yeah.
and you speak different languages,
Yeah.
like, you can still be in a place, not be able to communicate verbally with someone,
like
and
not speaking their language.
not speaking that
Yeah.
language, but
Yeah.
you can still communicate and convey something. You can still connect on an emotional level.
Yeah.
Maybe not to the same depth, but there's still.
Sometimes it can be deeper.
You know what? I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I
man.
think this is a conception that we have in like this time and age, and also I think it's quite strong in a Western country or philosophies that they really value verbal communications, and they almost like put them on the top of the level of communications or knowledge or way of thinking, where I think we should put a spotlight, and everyone should practice and aware of physical communication, physical action as thinking form. I think that's why I wanted to.
I agree, man.
Yeah.
I agree, but at the same time, like, I think you're right. I think that is very much a Western culture thing, but I also feel as though that is the way in Western cultures, because there is a massive breakdown in how we culturally assimilate as well. Like, how there are certain gestures, or let's say Europeans, if they're more physical in the way they communicate, right, with their body, or in Japan, something as simple as like the greeting of the bow. Right? That communicates so much, and like the depth of the bow communicates a lot. There's a lot of nuance in there. Whereas the only commonalities that we have in the Western world would be speak English.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, like as you said, it's actually non-verbal communication is there, and a lot of people actually communicate in that way, but it's just, it seems to be, it's not valued as much.
Yeah.
I think it's actually exists in every country, and
for sure.
every people does it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think the value just comes down to like not fully appreciating what the other person's bringing to the table, because it's one of those things that, like, we only, you know, how I would physically interact and engage with people is going to be based on all my past experiences and with you as well. And because our past experiences are so diverse, I feel as though there could be a breakdown in that communication. So it could be a matter of then just trying to find a language that everyone understands, or are you saying that it is more innate in us? That is something that we.
I think we all have it. It's just we need, like, it's valuable to put a spotlight and think about that, or practice that, or just acknowledge that's there.
Yeah.
Again, like, I think everyone does it already. Everyone knows it's like either if they know it or not, they do it and they have it and they know how to do it.
Yeah. That's true, man.
Yeah.
They're more subconsciously attuned to it, but not really cognizant of what.
It's just not having spotlighted as important things as much as
Where is there anywhere that you've been that you find that it is more prevalent? Just the non-verbal type of communication, that physical sort of communication.
No, I think it's universal.
Yeah.
Like anywhere, as you said, anywhere in the world you travel, you can communicate with people. You know, you can just have drinks together, and that's also communication, or even food, or just be even on the same trains and sitting next to you. all body movement communicate your feelings and emotions, isn't it? Like sometimes you do feel uncomfortable next to someone because of even if they're not saying anything, maybe the way they look.
There's an energy. They give off some
or
kind
the
of
body
energy.
movements or expressions. That's all. Physical communication, isn't it? Yeah.
And to tie that back into your work, I think that like if you are more mindful of the expression, the physical expression in the creation of the work, then it kind of just puts you more in place of the process of the creating rather than trying to predetermine the outcome.
Yeah, I do actually. I feel like my process is part of my art as much as, or maybe even more than the finished artwork. That's why I'm sharing this live painting walls through this exhibition. This is the second mural I'm painting duration of this exhibition, and you see the video there of the first ones. And again, I feel like that action of painting can communicate ideas and emotions as much as the finished ones. So that's why I like to share those things.
Yeah, it's really layered, man. Because if you're thinking about with AI, if I was to put in some certain prompts, it'll be able to generate something. And it might be something that I look at and just be like, and look at it and just be inspired by like, wow, that's actually quite, I guess, you can see that there could potentially be some artistic merit in that, because it would just be collecting finished products from other artists that have expressed what I've just cued AI to create. But unlike like with yours, I think you are right. Like, and I appreciate how you've considered that your process is the artwork as much as the outcome. And I would even dare say more so, man. I think that just your particular craft, and like we were looking and checking out your other works, and I've seen how you work. Just the fine gestures of it. It is equally as impressive as the final finished pieces, man. Like I would look at this, and it's big, it's imposing. But when you look at this, it's like fucking wow. Yeah. But then when you see it get made, it is a different kind of. It feels a bit more grounded. And what I mean by that is that you can see all the little pieces come together. You don't see one big piece, you're seeing a bunch of little tiny pieces. And then with that, you can see the human touch to it. And I think that is the thing that separates artists like yourself from even like digital artists, where it does lack a lot of that.
Yeah.
Like, have you experimented much with even just creating digital artwork?
Yeah, I mean, that video there, it's actually generated with Langway, AI generative video banking application. But I actually feed my painting and also a video of like a YouTube video of a flower blooming, and just put it together into the machine and tell them to mix it, and that's how it comes out. But because I use that like earlier version of it, so that I can actually the glitch and some strangeness to it, I think the newer one it will be more smoothly translating my illustration or painting into animation, like Disney or
right.
Not that level clearly, but like you can kind of imagine that painting of a flower is without strange part. It's actually do look like opening and stuff. But this one is still strange. It's kind of alien. It's kind of grotesque some parts because it's not actual way the flower actually bloom.
And then we'll feel something strange from that, because like even without knowing how a flower should bloom, you look at that and like, nah, that's not right.
Yeah, right.
There's something about that.
But that's, to me, I use that AI tool just like I use paint with a lot of waters and drips happens, and that's the part I wanted to see. So I do play around with it, and I do, do some illustrations on the iPad and stuff, but I do believe the final ones, I do like the ones I made with my hand, like to start with, because I enjoyed that process much more than looking at the computer screens.
Yeah.
Or even doing stuff on the computer. I like the feeling of putting Lola onto the walls or scratching stuff onto metals and acrylics and using my hands and fingers to drag a paint. I love that action. And you don't get that with digital art,
You don't get anything even remotely close. Everything's texturally the same.
Yeah.
Like there's just that that pen that it's got a particular, I guess, like a silicone or a rubber on that glass screen. So no matter what type of brush effect you're trying to get, and this is like there's certain tools on the iPad that are there to simulate effects and textures. And then like I see a lot of artists when they use it, that I wonder where the line is drawn between the artistry and the simulation of it. And this is the thing that kind of like, it doesn't necessarily...
What do you mean?
Yeah, so what I mean is like... if you
history?
No, I mean like if you get like a tablet and you're just drawing like whatever shape it may be, you can simulate a lot of like your drips. It can simulate the drips. You can use pressure sensitivity to kind of like drop in more paint or less paint. It'll simulate the brush stroke so it looks like a paintbrush. But it's all simulated. So I wonder at what point it's no longer human made and it's now just, I suppose, like just simulated artwork. Like you are still doing the physical gesture, but you don't get the same feedback as you would with your work.
Yeah, it's I guess everyone has a different lines for that, I guess.
Yeah, but I think like that's the thing with art, right? Like,
yeah, and also depending on how the technology develop also, because if there is augmented reality that it's simulated actual real reality so well, then maybe that drips is and then the way you feel, like how you're painting, is maybe the same things. And a lot of people say this actual reality could be simulated things also. So that's where how. But at the moment, I still do feel quite realistic and feel the feeling way much strongly doing in this place that we call a real life, rather than doing it on but you never know. Give it 10 years, I could be just putting headsets or even like responsive things to your muscles, so it's not just a visual and sound and even the smells and all those things. Then maybe there is not much difference. I don't know. Yeah.
Is part of your practice, have you consciously decided and thought about trying to make it as organic and real as possible? I suppose because for example, you have, for this range at least, you've decided to not use much color or any color. And that was a decision made just so the shapes and the marks kind of speak more for themselves.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, really. Like I just eliminated all other extra elements. And when it's black and white, you can use so many different mark making, different tools, but it actually gels together because it's the same tones, same color. No colors, only black and white.
So then, I mean, just to juxtapose that with digital artwork, is the intention of that to then, as you're removing elements, is it just a matter of now just trying to create artwork that is as raw and organic as you can?
I don't know about organic, but definitely trying to make it as raw as possible, especially for this exhibition.
organic being just more about like relinquishing and just whatever comes off that moment that you're creating it is what it is, right? Like, I assume that you've got an idea of the composition.
No.
No, not even that. Oh, damn, dude. This is just so well put together. You just wing it? You just wing
Yeah,
it?
man.
Really?
Like this one, so when I was painting this, I just picked up a lot of flowers just from the corner along 1 block away from here. Literally just walked out and just picked flowers and brought it here. And just looking at one flower, I think I might have started with like that one there. So I just look at the flower in front of me and just kind of place it in an empty white wall, and okay, let's just do that one.
Yeah.
So I put that in, and after that, I just look at another flower, right, let's put this one here. So it's kind of similar to the manner and the way this Japanese traditional flower arrangement called ikebana. So you literally just put in the flowers and see the balance, and if it doesn't work, just take it out. For me, like, you can just paint it over or do other stuff. So it will change again from here on the Saturday. I have thinking about adding a few more flowers in here, so it probably changes again.
Dude, that's like really leaning into the process entirely and not even trying to premeditate. So when you say you're going to add in more flowers to this arrangement, so just like as an example of the process, it would just be a matter of like, I think this area here needs something, so I'm just going to put something in there.
Right.
And then you think about what type of form you want, because I would look at some of your flower arrangement ones, and that looks like, and I'm going to put it down to just being really intuitive and just understanding and just having an innate understanding of composition, because they look like you have got a bouquet of flowers, or you have flowers at your disposal and have decided this is the centerpiece. These are going to be secondary, and then I'm going to add these leaves.
I'm doing that as I paint.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
Damn. Have you considered much about, like, have you looked into what is happening physiologically and cognitively into you? Because I was thinking about, like, when you're saying about the physical act of painting and the connection between the mind and the body, have you done any research into what or how that part actually functions, like into the brain activity and the brain waves?
Probably, I did some reading about like physical actions, how that affect your emotions and the way of thinking. I guess yoga is one of them also.
Yeah.
You do train your body in breathing, and that's how they're trying to enlighten themselves, right? So I have read and I do some kind of practice, but I'm not expert on that. So yeah, I don't know how that really works, but I have a feeling it's working for me.
You're just in tune with your methods. I've looked into this a bit. It's something that I've been, I guess, like, it's just been an interest of mine. And I've previously worked with this VR project, and about how you're able to almost trick your body into thinking, trick your brain and your body into thinking that you have performed some kind of physical movement or some motor skill. Right, so the whole point is to see if there was a way that you can immerse yourself in virtual reality and to trick your brain to thinking that you're performing an act, and then condition your body into almost like training, but without doing the training. And you are right, like, part of that is getting your brain into a state of physical preparedness, and the best way to do that is very similar to meditation. And it is that sort of like, flow state, right? So it's just that, we know it as flow state, but what's happening is that you're preparing your brain and getting it into like the alpha theta, more calm, relaxed. And then when you're in that state, you're actually able to absorb more and then output more efficiently without necessarily overthinking that practice. And this is something that we were talking about, like with the mark making, just the intentionality behind that. Yeah, talk to me about that, because I know that that's a fine balance as well, from like wanting to get a particular outcome from a mark, but not wanting to invest too much energy into that.
It's like when you nailed one of a painting and you like it, and you're trying to mimic that painting, they're never gonna be better than the first one. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Not just painting, but like cooking a recipe that you just
or even talking to the people. Like, okay, the way that I talk to people in this way, this question works so well, so let's try that, and no, that doesn't work.
That's true. They respond differently.
So intention is interesting things. Like in my painting, I try not to have a marks that it's look too intentional. Because it seems to not sit well, or it just looks too, I don't know, it just doesn't look good. It's
too forced.
Too forced, to try hard. And I don't like those marks. I don't feel like that's good. So that's maybe why I like to invite and open to tools that it does its own things. So
just to give up that control.
But clearly it's not 100% I'm giving up control, is it? It's still intentional, but I trying to make that as, I don't know what's the, because when a flower blooms, it doesn't look intentional. There is something beautiful things in it, and they are, often maybe facing the sun, so it's tilted that way. So there is, it's following some sort of formula, or like some sort of, nature law, but it's never look forced. Yeah.
That's a good point, and I do wonder, like, to get to that point. That's a tough balance, because I feel as though that it takes years before you're able to do that.
Yeah, or maybe not. It's so generic things, but some kids do painting and it just looks good.
Yeah.
And did they do a practice? I don't think so.
Yeah, good point. So it could just be in our maybe that's just something that just needs to be encouraged more, and just to
I think that's what it is. Yeah, just and also again, it's like our conception that we got taught or seen and grown up with. There is so many certain basics that are painting need to be this way, has to be painted with this. The composition wise, this is good composition, this is not good. Bullshit. There is something to it, but that's only one way of doing it. There's so many different ways that we can explore.
There is, and
so
then there's
maybe
also,
bullshit is a bit too much, but I do feel like that's just one thing,
I think you're right. I think it is bullshit. It is bullshit, but I think there's also like a learning curve where you lean into, because when we start creating, when we start painting and just start doing, well, say painting because that's an easy one for kids. When they have that dexterity, you just give them a pen or a brush and they just go for it, right? They have that connection, that relationship. I hold this, I move it over the paper, it leaves a mark behind, right? And then that's when you get the feedback. You can start fine tuning that. And then from that point on, you start learning a series of rules saying that try this, try that, try that, try that, until the point where and this is to what you were saying, that there's just so many options that it almost becomes paralyzing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
And then to the point where, and it's just that choice paradox. There's just so many things that we can do. We freeze and don't do anything, rather than just being like, fucking let go.
Yeah.
And then that's something that we have to, I think, was it Picasso that said that? Just it took him that many years to learn how to paint like a kid again. So he went through his process, his journey.
Yeah, yeah. Again, like that's one way of thinking, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it is that, like, just being able to lean, or just to relinquish the guardrails and just define your own channel and your way of processing it. And then once you get to that point, so when we create art, especially at an early age, we're not really thinking about what we're doing, right? Like I've got a 2-year-old at home and he's just drawing, and he calls everything flowers, funnily enough. Like, he likes to draw flowers.
Yeah.
They don't look like flowers, but in his mind, he likes flowers. And I practice with him, right? So I'm like, here's a flower, and just draw what looks like a flower.
Yeah.
But then he will just take that that gesture of, like, here's the pollen and here are the petals. So then he takes that gesture and just does circles. And he's like, flower. I was like, cool, man, that's a flower. I mean,
yeah, and also, like a flower have so many different forms too.
Yeah.
The petals and pollens in the middle is only when it's actually bloomed. When they are actually before blooms, it's actually just a circle.
Yeah.
And even like, don't you think that even the seed itself, isn't it a flower? It's a seed, but it's the beginning of the different form of flower. So maybe
that's exactly my point, right? It's like we have this conception we have this, like, I guess, like, compartmentalizing, saying a flower looks like this, the pollen with the petals around, but it goes through all these different stages, and you can accept the flower as anything. And then even when it's bloomed, like, there's so many different shapes of flowers.
Exactly. It's so amazing how many forms they have, and they all looks like, some of them looks kind of interesting or a bit silly looking ones exist too, but
yeah, look, alien, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then as you go through this, like, I was saying that, so he's just drawing and not thinking, not connecting, this needs to look like that. So for him, it's just expression, and he's just, like, calling it a flower. And then I suppose as he's getting older, he'll start to identify what different flowers look like, saying that, oh, actually, this is how you draw this flower and that flower and that flower. But then it gets to a point where it's like, you can just kind of let go of that. You can just draw basically anything. It doesn't even have to look like a flower that we have and still be deemed a flower.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, even with yours, because you look at flowers and you just take inspiration from, but you could just kind of, like, draw something that looks like a flower, suggestively like a flower. Like, yeah, cool, that's a flower.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I do actually look. I like looking at the actual flower before I paint, because it's, and I like I was saying before, I'm not interested in making things hyper realistic, but I'm looking at forms and how they become that form. Like, you can't, like, I'm trying to see, like, how they bloomed, or like how they moved to get to that form.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I like, looking at the things properly in my hand rather than reference photos. Sometimes I do have to do it, especially if I'm painting a public space on the walls or something, because the flower does whittle, so it changes. Or some places they don't even have a flowers, or maybe the season they don't have a flower season. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, and I think it's depending on why you're painting. Also, I like my process because that's most enjoyable way to paint. Like, I know some artists and some people spend a lot of time painting and trying to make things perfect, and they are very diligent and have got a patience for that. But that way of painting doesn't go well with my personality. I just goes like, no, I just need to move, and. But funny enough, like, I do speak to a lot of artists, and they actually do like to do what I do. Like, because they can see I'm having fun. It's kind of important for me that is actually fun. Like, and when I look at some people's work, I can see some people had fun, or good energy to it, and for me, that's quite important. I like looking at those things.
I enjoy that as well, man. I think like I love watching process videos. I've watched a lot of Bob Ross.
Okay.
Yeah, like so many hours, and it's just I find that because he loves what he does.
Yeah.
And it's just, and actually that's a good point about like the whole mark making and the suggestions, how you can just get a palette knife and just do a stroke there. I'm like, oh my God, dude, that's a mountain for nothing. And I think that's just that level of mastery that you've leaned into, because there's like, if you're enjoying that process, you're going to be becoming more open to just experimenting to play and to allowing things to unfold as they unfold.
Yeah.
Do you ever think of like, try to see the other side of how people create, like, because you were very free with it, and this is your particular style, and like you were saying that it fits within your personality, and then some people are more diligent, more controlled, that fits with their personality. Have you ever put yourself in that position and thought, what would happen if I apply more control or more?
I mean, there is some work in here, like a smaller piece tend to become a little bit more that way. Like I have some watercolor and ink drawing there, which is more intricate. And I didn't really realize that, but a lot of people actually mentioned for this exhibition, like my style seems to be more, it changed again a bit and more intricately coming in. So I'm doing it, but I'm still using watercolor and ink, which is, and I normally draw with water first and then drop the ink. So there is still chance in, like not everything's controlled by me.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't know. I have tried, and I did a few very intricate process or type of works, and I have done it. I can do it, but I do prefer a bit more free one better.
Yeah. I see that there's a lot of benefit, and I like the artists that incorporate. I suppose it's almost like a duality, right? So there's like this side of things and then the opposing side, and I like to see that kind of range and the contrast.
Yeah, and also like a bit like to be able to be open, I think you have to try different method, and I'm constantly learning a new materials, techniques, way of doing things, and that comes from my play and experimentation. So and sometimes that's technique that I sort of actually ended up require so much more time and intricacy and patience sometimes. So I try that both.
Okay.
Yeah.
How has this philosophy that you've applied to your work, how have you applied it to other parts of your life?
How?
Yeah.
I mean, I actually do apply this to whole my life, I guess, and maybe that's why I lived in Melbourne as soon as I graduated high school in Japan. I moved to Melbourne, and that's because I actually never heard of Melbourne before. So that was for me to put myself into unknown, I guess. So I don't know if I actually had that philosophy and applied it. I think I always has been kind of that way. And, like I lived in Berlin for 8 years and now living in Italy at Santilia Pianesi. Only 1,600 people lives there, and we don't even have a family or anything. We just bought a house and just started life there. So there is a bit similarity, isn't it? How I practice my art and how I'm living my life in a way.
Just letting it happen.
Yeah, because it just happens.
Because you said this the last time when we spoke, and I was like, and then you just like, I don't even know, because I just do things. Like it's not anything that you necessarily like have applied. Not to say that it's not considered. It's just that like it's hard to contrast the way you think versus someone else because it's just how you think.
Yeah, or maybe I just don't think. I don't know.
You just do.
Yeah.
I do, like, I follow a bunch of different artists, and I've spoken with different artists, and like for me it's just a matter of like just trying to pick their brains and just trying to see how they operate. And it is like there are some that, and because everything kind of fits on a spectrum, there's a lot of artists that have given a lot of thought into how they practice. And I suppose that it's not to say it's engineered, I guess engineered, but it has been a conscious decision for them to evolve in that way. Because there are a lot of artists that started off as designers. Actually, we touched on this last time. So there are people that start off as designers and they just feel as though that they're not able to creatively achieve what it is that they want to. So they want to pivot to art. And then it's just
Like
a matter
yourself?
of them. Like myself, but I guess myself is not necessarily a pivot. It's just trying to bring something else into the fold. I still love to design. I still love to create in that manner, you know. But it's now just trying to see how I can bring in some of the, like, your learnings, right? Like some of your teachings. Like, what is it that I have to let go of this grid-like structure and have everything down to the pixel and have like sharp vectors and just letting things unfold. And I think that if you're able to introduce contrast into your life, it only helps with improving the practice, and not just your practice or what you're putting in. It improves whatever it is that you're putting your energy in. You know, and so like speaking with you, it's interesting that how like you're like, I don't know, man. This is just how I live, and it's cool because like you found it.
Yeah.
You found it without having to think too hard. Where there are some people that have to like really dedicate a lot of energy.
Yeah, I mean, I have been lucky. Like, you know, I had a supportive parents and friends, and it just seems to land into the place. People are happy for me to do whatever I'm doing.
Because you moved to Melbourne when we were 18, yeah?
Yeah.
And that's when you discovered street art, skateboarding, and you've taken...
I already had it.
You already did? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I already knew about it when I was in Japan, and I was starting a little bit of graffiti, but you know, it's just with a cheap hardware store spray paint, just under the train bridge or something, with my friends. And skating I was doing since 5. I don't do much tricks and I'm not really good at it, but I like just pushing around the town with it. And those things actually gave me a little bit more freedom to see things differently, because when you skate, you look at the town a little bit differently. Like, oh, you can jump here.
Looking for cracks.
Yeah, or like, you know, this street Melbourne's beautiful city to skate, you know, because the ground is so smooth.
Yeah.
A lot of places you go.
Pretty flat.
Yeah. And also same with the graffiti too, like you start seeing the city differently, like, okay, that's a good spot. How do I even get there? What time? You know, like you start seeing how people move around there. I don't know, you just start perceiving things differently.
I like that. I like that. You're really starting to peel back the layers, and you're having to see how people interact with the spaces.
Yeah. And then I moved here, and I actually, first day I arrived with skateboard, my host family, host mother actually took me to the skate park, and that's where I met a lot of other skaters and also graffiti writer too.
Which skate park?
Huh?
Which skate park?
Northcote.
Oh, Northcote, okay.
Yeah. And I was pretty brand new at that time, and man, the pool that they have, like there was one not so far from my house in Japan, but I'd never really able to skate it. That's when I start skating a little bit in the pool also, and I just start meeting artists there. And at that time I couldn't speak English that much, but they saw me doing a drawing and sketch, and do you want to come for paint tonight? And I said, yeah,
Sick.
right. Yeah.
It seems to be one of those cultures, or at skate, where like art is very embedded.
Yeah, skating for sure.
And mark making, man, like a lot of it is just like sometimes purely just to leave a mark, right? You throw up a tag just to say and claim that spot. It's like, I've been here. This is my mark.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. Like, I did like the aesthetic of it. I don't know if I sympathize so much with, okay, this is my spot, or like claiming the spot things, but I did like the fact that they are leaving marks, and that looked fun.
Yeah, so a lot of the philosophies probably didn't gel with you, but it was just...
Something did, something didn't. Yeah, not the whole things, maybe, no.
Yeah. But you can see that how like you can take that philosophy across, and like I see a lot of artists as well, that studio artists that have started off with that street art or graffiti background, and I think that what's really cool about the graffiti background is that it was intentionally meant to be rebellious, right? So then a lot of the things they had to do was to be very anti-art, especially with like the forms, not just the canvas being the city, but it wasn't even about that. It was about like just trying to create an aesthetic that was different, unique, and was still very was still very anti-art, but...
I don't know about anti-art.
No, but what I mean is that like it was about rule breaking, right? The philosophy was rule breaking, but I don't think when I say anti-art, I don't mean it like on a spectrum, because it all kind of comes back around. So I see things as a circle. So when you're trying to do street art, you're pushing it to the point so far that it actually comes back to being very art, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Because I think graffiti definitely have anti-establishment and I think establishment is probably more stronger than art, right? Like it is, some people talks about who owns the public space, like why this design billboard is okay to be on the street and no graffiti. Yeah. That's one angle of conversation some people have, but I don't think they have anti-art. Like the fact is, most like a lot of graffiti writers, they actually do like art also. But
What I mean by anti-art is that it is the way and the methodology of how it needs to be done, because it's very much art.
Yeah, maybe not like a traditional art practice.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it goes so far that way that it actually comes back around to being very, very artistic, as in like you're talking about abstract forms, very expressive lines, and things that I guess
art is always expanding also, isn't it? Like that's
exactly. So then it just comes back to the fold, and then what is considered as art is just a larger pool of now, like it's sort of like there is no separation between street art, graffiti, and studio art. It's almost like it's the same people within those circles that are kind of like creating what would be, especially here in Melbourne, like the top level of art that is very Melbourne, is done by the people that kind of mix in all those circles.
Yeah, I don't think they are all same, but a lot of people actually practice or like experience some parts of all those things, and I definitely experience and practice all these things.
Man, like for yours, your stuff is very transferable, right? Like because like you can take your application within the studio, you can just do the exact same thing outdoors.
Nah, not exactly same, but there's some. I do definitely fees outside public mural painting practice into the studio, and the studio experimentation comes back into outside painting also. So
talk to me about like what would be the difference? How would you?
The size is different.
Well, the scale for sure.
Yeah. And also, again, like...
but you're also doing massive ones outdoors.
Yeah, that's
like this
right.
would still be... This is massive.
This is tiny, man. This is tiny.
For studio, definitely. I mean, like even for an outdoor mural, this is not small, but relative, I guess. You do big ones.
Yeah.
Yours are big pieces.
Yeah. And so I guess the size is different, and time, like restrictions often, or like some sort of... regulation restrictions. So, but at the same time, at the studio too, there is some sort of restriction you make yourself. Like if you're painting on a canvas, then it's square, and that's a restriction also. So it's different, but there is something transfer, and I guess I do apply same attitude to both practice. But there is so many things that I learned by painting outside though, like to include chances and the different elements into my work, and that's including other people's ideas and talking to other people too.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that I want to make work that it's very inclusive, and I think that thought probably came strongly from painting public murals outside.
What do you mean work that's inclusive? What work that invites curiosity from everyone?
Yeah, curiosity, talking point. Sometimes literally some other people are contributing to make marks. Like I do a lot of workshops and projects with kids and adult also, but I have made some painting with school kids in Germany, Italy, and also Australia and Japan too, where they actually there was a few different ones, but one of them is like painted on the ground, and I just got series of colors, and the kids went crazy and talked about abstraction art and just body movement, and they just went nuts on putting colors on the ground. And then after that I paint flower shapes on the top of it, so the fill is all the color those kids made. So that's actually, like a
collaboration.
Yeah, literally collaboration. And also that another one was we made a sort of a self-standing panel, clear panel, like acrylic panel, and we painted it together with spray paint and just told them how I do those light box painting. And we went for the garden, pick up a flower. Okay, you want to paint that? Look at this, and let's just do it together. And we made the one piece together. Like the kids actually painted parts, and yeah.
Fuck.
So yeah, that clearly on a studio painting, I don't get to do that often because those people are not in my studio.
You're a bit more isolated.
Yeah.
Do you find that between adults and children, the level of engagement or how they approach the workshop, are they different?
It's depending on person, really.
Yeah.
There is some shy kids and shy adults and very open-minded ones, either young or old. But often, I think when I do my workshop, people seems to respond pretty well because I keep it quite open, and also I normally do demonstrate also, like just pick up the things and let's just paint.
Let's go.
Yeah. And then a lot of people just get excited. All right, let's just go for it,
Yeah.
Rather than, okay, flower, you have to paint like this. No, the shadow, blah, 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 blah. Then they will get broke or scared or like they don't want to do it. But they just see me moving my body and making marks, and that's all I'm doing. So yeah, everyone can do it.
Everyone can do it. Mm-hmm. And there's like that element of the trepidation, the fear that's stopping them from just letting go.
Yeah, and also, I think joy and curiosity win over fears when you approach that way.
It should be. I've heard of this quote where it's like the thing that you want is on the other side of the thing that you least want to do. So it's like that, to find the joy in the process. It's just to let go of the baggage of doing the thing. And it's just that baggage where like it feels you're just more comfortable or more familiar with carrying the baggage rather than just being vulnerable and letting go and just letting the marks just take form as you do. It's a valuable lesson, man. It's a very, very big one. I wonder if you can even just give any thought to your work incorporates mark making, and the mark making takes form by adding marks, but then there's also removing as well. And I wonder whether or not there's two different parts that are working in that.
Like adding or removing.
Yeah, because I feel as though
For like maybe for some people yes, but for me it's a product of body movement, isn't it? Like a physical action. So it's kind of same for me.
yeah. Would I be right to thinking that like adding is more forgiving than removing? No? Okay.
Same. Yeah, for me. Why would you just feel that way?
I just feel that way because I think it's more like if you're like when I'm talking to my sons, the oldest one, he's 9. So when I tell him when you're drawing something, don't draw what you think, just draw what you see. Like if he's trying to draw like a face, right? Don't draw the shapes, right? Like your face is usually very tonal, right? So don't try to think that what you're seeing, or like if you're just trying to draw like observational, break everything down into shapes and don't try to think you're drawing, like for example, a camera. Don't try to draw that. Just think of it as abstract shapes and then you're putting them together. And that way you'll have something that resembles more of a camera, and then instead of trying to force something in that. So that is the practice of adding something, whereas something like removing, I think that it needs to then take that objectivity even further, like really just trying to understand the form and the tones more than a flower.
And then they should paint what they think, maybe.
I don't know. This is kind of why I thought that like maybe removing things.
Yeah, I think like it's a good advice to paint something to represent. Let's say to paint a camera, and just don't draw from your concept of camera to make it look realistic. But also there is some strengths in painting something that what you think of the camera or flower, right? Like
of course, man. Yeah. It's just that duality. But I'm just thinking in the context of like removing elements rather than adding elements. And
yeah, I think it's both. It's good practice to do, and I guess I do that. I think my approach for painting is maybe little more less adding compared to like Renaissance paintings or something, because that's stuff from sketches. Yeah, as you said, maybe they even like do a lot of, like I do studies too, but they do a lot of studies first, and then they think about the composition, they make a sketch, and they put the undercoat and another color on the top and another color on the top, another color on the top to make that painting, where I think my painting is a bit more cohesive to like an Asian ink drawing or something, like you make one line and that's the mountain.
Gesturing.
Yeah,
gestural.
And you see the fast stroke is still visible in my final artwork also. So it is some sense of taking away, but to make that I'm adding it. So
I like that, man. I like that philosophy that even the first stroke that is something that's going to be visible and has permanence in the work. Because you're right. Like there are a lot of artists that I guess that their practice is the whole layering and layering and layering, where it's just not even a matter of that first thing that's going down. It's not even there to be visible anymore. It's actually kind of there just to guide the additional layers.
Yeah, but at the same time, if they are a good artist, those fast strokes and fast intention is still in there. So I'm not saying like mine's better than the other ones. I'm just saying that's how I feel about my work.
So then it would just be the degree of mastery is just to make sure that there is the intention of everything that's going down is going to have some sort of purpose and resonance with the overall piece. So it's like that you've figured out your method, and you just want to make sure that everything that you add or every action that you contribute to the piece has a lasting effect.
Yeah, because if it doesn't, then it's not needed in the painting, does it?
Yeah, man. Dude, this exhibition is incredible. I love how this exhibition, it took its form when the exhibition started.
Yeah.
Rather than, and it really just ties back into the whole philosophy of it.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just have an exhibition, and then only when the exhibition is on, we're going to start evolving and developing what it becomes, and it will take the shape and the form that it does as it's happening. We won't know how it comes about. But like, just looking around the space, it feels incredibly cohesive. As different as all the pieces are, it feels like a body of work. And I think that is testament to the philosophy of just releasing and letting go, and just being intuitive with the work, and just kind of like feeding off the people that will be coming through.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
So I really love it, man. And I appreciate the opportunity to sit down and chat with you again in this space amongst your work as we're talking about it. It's wicked, dude.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, Hiro, thanks very much, man. Thanks for the time again. Thanks for the opportunity.
No
and man, I hope that this exhibition was everything that you wanted it to be.
I don't know, but I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap this up because I know that we're gonna open.
True.
Yeah, dude.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.